Hey A-Team, I'm LP Wilson, and we've got some models to assemble. So far, my entire Age of Sigmar and Games Workshop force is this unit of Kinnerai. 5. So fun. I have an escalation league that's starting on Wednesday in 3 days, and I need to assemble 600 points total of Daughters of Cain. So let's see how long it takes.
It can be intimidating to go from a new box of models to freshly assembled gray models, but all you need is proper motivation. Tip 1. Sign up for a game that uses these models. I'm new to assembling plastic models, having printed the 75 minis I've painted previously. Here I'm using old wire cutters to trim the sprues and an old hobby blade to clean the models. It's slow going, but the thought of the escalation league keeps me at it. I just started hobbying in person at my friendly local game store and have been so inspired by the kind and supportive folks there. When they mentioned the league, I joined to encourage and challenge myself to grow in my hobby skills. I'm super excited to show them these models I will assemble.
Hello A-Team, I'm back. We have a bunch of models to assemble still. Last time I was using these old wire cutters and it was not going well. It took about an hour and a half and all I have is 2 completed models, 2 hairs, and 2 that are almost done but I couldn't find their heads, so we're gonna have to work on that. So I'm gonna be assembling, still working on the witch elves, and hopefully I will get to assemble these, the Blade Coven, and then a lot of the Start Collecting box. I'm going to assemble all of these folks and the Cauldron. I'm not going to assemble the Avatar of Cain. That should give me, together with the Kinnerai that I already painted, woo! That should give me about 600 points for my first ever Age of Sigmar experience, which is tomorrow. So it's almost 3 p.m. Let's see how we can do.
My second tip, get good tools. If possible, get good tools for essential functions. I was having such a hard time with the wire cutters and old hobby blade that I ordered Tamiya sprue cutters. This time it went much smoother and I had a lot less to clean up in terms of mold lines. I replaced the blade on my hobby knife too, and that also helped. These relatively small purchases, compared to the cost of the models themselves, make the process much easier and more enjoyable. My next tip is hobby entertainment. When I'm hobbying, I like to listen to the podcast Trapped Under Plastic, hosted by Scott, the Miniature Maniac, and John, Ninjon. I always laugh along. It really feels like hanging out with hobby friends. This podcast was a huge motivator for me when I was painting in 2020 and 2021 and couldn't paint in person at my friendly local game store. I'll link this podcast in the description if you want to check it out. Whenever you're hobbying, listen to whatever keeps you motivated and happy, be it a podcast, music, or audiobook. Hobby time is your time, and you should enjoy it. If you prefer quiet, do that. It's whatever works for you. It really feels like a kind gift to give yourself the permission to sit down for 30 minutes or a few hours and do nothing but paint or assemble, listening to your favorite jams.
Hey A-Team. Okay, it's 4:30. We've done good work. I now have all of the little witch elves assembled. What I'm going to do now is go through and check for any mold lines that I missed, which are probably a lot because I wasn't actually working on mold lines very much at all. So I'm going to clean up those mold lines and then stick them to their bases. I am wanting these to be temporary bases. I think I'm going to 3D print the bases later. So that's what I'm doing now. And then when I'm done, I should have these witch elves assembled. So that's good. But then I gotta do the Start Collecting box and the Blade Coven. Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna keep listening to Trapped Under Plastic. Play. So what I'm doing now is I'm using poster putty and I'm gonna put these guys on temporary bases. I've heard that you can do this with super glue, but I am nervous about the models not being happy about that later. So all I need is for this to be secure enough for me to paint the minis. These minis are all great because they're standing on rocks or something, so I'm not going to cover their feet, so I can still paint their feet just fine. Okay, goodbye for now.
Tip number 4, community. While I work, I like to call a loved one on the phone and chat. I also chat with my family when they're in the house nearby. Sometimes it's nice to be in the same sound space, even if I'm doing my own activity.
All right, we are back. I did some more assembling. The camera had to charge for a while. I've finished my episode of Trapped Under Plastic. I've assembled all of the witch elves. Yeah! And I'm halfway through, a little more than halfway through, assembling the Beast Grave, Warhammer Underworlds, Morgwaith's Blade Coven. So that's very exciting. After this, we're going to be working on the big one, assembling the Start Collecting box. So there we go. Let's see how much longer it takes.
For this session, I try listening to a podcast called Critical Role about Dungeons & Dragons. I'm a dungeon master, and it's helpful to learn how other groups play their campaigns. I've been DMing for about a year now, and I'm still figuring out how to allow player freedom while still pushing the group to keep moving and make decisions efficiently. Critical Role is very professional and flows very well. I'm looking forward to exploring this podcast more. I'll link it in the description too. Finally, tip 5. Done is better than perfect. Don't get hung up on less than perfect cleaning jobs, assembly jobs, or paint jobs. If you can paint every model perfectly, do it. But if you're going to get hung up on little things and stop, don't worry about those things. Just don't sweat the small stuff and get it done. Same goes for assembly. Hypothetically speaking, if I were to not finish all of the assembly that I wanted to, I should still go to the game store and play with what I have. Don't let lack of perfection or lack of preparation stop you from having fun. I'm sure this is good life advice as well.
Hello again. We are back. My Escalation League starts at 6 p.m. tonight, and it's almost 2. So we'll see if I can get where I need to get. So far, I have assembled the Witch Elves. I've assembled Morgwaith's Blade Coven. And I've assembled 2 Melusai from the Start Collecting box for Daughters of Cain. My goal is to assemble 2 more Melusai. These people, the Hag and the Slaughter Queen, I think, and the Blood Cauldron. That's the goal. Can we do it? I have no idea. Let's find out.
Altogether, I spent 6 hours and 8 minutes assembling models. I did not end up assembling the Blood Cauldron in time. However, I still got myself to the Escalation League, and I had enough points to play. Playing Age of Sigmar was a blast. I used my Kinnerai, Melusai, aka Bow Snakes, and the Blade Coven. I didn't even get to use all the Witch Elves I worked so hard to assemble. The hobby friends at the store were so helpful. They helped me learn the rules. Jack from the YouTube channel Rerolling Ones helped me out with the prayers and heroic actions of Daughters of Cain, which I'm still learning. He was so kind and encouraging. It was fun to celebrate great rolls and bemoan those I failed together. Check out his channel linked in the description too. I still got my ass handed to me by my opponent, but I had a blast and loved seeing my models on the table. Of course, it was my painted models that got killed first, but it was still worth it. Speaking of motivation, the leader of our Escalation League says that we can't add new models until our current force is painted. So be sure to subscribe because I'm going to paint the crap out of these models. So next time I play, even if I lose, I'll show them up with my awesomely painted models. Stay tuned for my tutorial on airbrush painting, speed painting, and finding hobby community online. Thanks for sticking around till the end, and I'll see you next time.